Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Higher Moment Mastermind. I'm Shira Lotzar, happy to be your host today and joined by my faithful colleagues, Vern Schellinger and Alki Thompson. We are all here to help you with your search. I am a recruiter and a career coach and do other workforcey things. Vern is a former HR executive and a career coach. Alki is a recruiter. So we kind of all together see things from both sides of the hiring aisle and have lots of perspectives on things. One thing we do not do, none of us specialize in the federal government. So please know that. That's not really our specialty. However, other than that, we have a lot to share about a lot of things. So the way we work here is it's an open Q&A. So feel free to jump on in, share a question that you have, and we will do our best to respond. And of course, if anyone else has other things that they'd like to share with a colleague, if one person's asking a question we've answered, but you have a thought, a comment, feel free to chime in. We are a collegial group here. So with that, who would like to kick us off? Noni, I'm just going to pick on you. You look like you have a question.
Actually, I don't have a question today.
Okay.
I'm really here to listen and to see what people are running into,
Okay.
in the job search. Because I
Well,
have to agree with that with Gratis is that it has definitely changed and running into the AI things and lots of things. So if anyone else has a question,
It looks like Barb does. All right,
Good
Barb.
morning.
Good
So
morning.
I was just on LinkedIn and I saw somebody post a checklist for job search from LinkedIn. And on there, they had a line that said, upload your default resume so that you could have like 4 other resumes for different job descriptions. So I'm wondering if you can just give me some insight on how that works. Like if we upload a resume, who can see it? How do we I have a couple different categories that I could go for in terms of job titles. So should I upload multiple? Do you just
Are
upload
you,
one?
make sure we're understanding, when you say LinkedIn, I have to be super clear here. So there's LinkedIn, the normal platform, right? Where you post, you have your profile and all of that. Are you talking about that, or are you talking about LinkedIn's job board?
Oh, well, I didn't know about LinkedIn's job board. I guess maybe I don't understand the differences on that.
Yeah, LinkedIn has a job board, just like it's like Indeed, like Career Builder. It's a normal job board. It's under the jobs section. Hold on, a lot of people use it. Give me 1 second, I'll pull it up. I just want to make
Oh,
sure that I'm understanding where you got this advice and like what they're referring to. So let me just.
yeah, I really don't know. So I'm trying to figure out like if I upload a resume, I read something that said if you upload a resume to a particular job, only that job can see it. But my resume's out there in LinkedIn and I don't really understand where I am and what I'm doing. How about
Okay.
that?
Well, let me just make sure everybody understands here. So this is the normal LinkedIn homepage, right? Everybody's
Yeah.
looks like this. Right here, the jobs button. That's what I'm
Okay.
talking about. Have you been
Yeah.
there? This button right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where my resume is. Like I looked in my settings the other day and saw my resume file there. And I see it like if I want to apply for a job that it would come up if I do that. But I don't understand what they were saying as well. Like, is there a way for you just to post your resume, maybe on your?
Well, let me address something at a larger level because I'm not quite
Thank
sure
you.
what they're talking about, and LinkedIn does just change. But I think this begs a larger question. Jesse, I do see your handle. This is, you might have to wait a minute because this is probably going to get a little bit into some depth here. So this is a topic that Alki, Vern, and I are pretty passionate about, around the lack of effectiveness of online job boards. Okay, period. Like full stop, period at the end of the sentence. Regardless of what they're asking you to do or offering for you to upload multiple resumes, any of that, it is very, 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 very difficult to get a job through the online job boards, period. The competition is through the roof. Employers are extremely risk averse, especially now with the fully remote opportunities. The competition has gone exponential because employers can now post pretty much to the whole country, right? When they post the job, everybody's sort of, flocking and applying for it at the same time. So I don't put any stake at all, actually, into any of the versions of what you're talking about. Right? It's just, LinkedIn might tease you and say, oh, you can do XYZ PDQ, but that's not really how people get jobs these days. I'm not saying no one will get the job if a job is posted, because maybe a person might get it, but it is all through networking, Barb. We cannot emphasize this to you enough. And we have whole presentations on this. The three of us can wax on for hours about the topic of networking, how to do it. And we're happy to kind of go into a little bit of, a little bit of training here. Not the whole time, we can go a little bit, but the bottom line is that that's typically how people get noticed and get hired. And so whether you see a job that's posted and you go find what we call an internal champion, somebody to flag your resume, pull it out of the hundreds of people, right? Or more importantly, and more easily done, if you can find a job in what we call the hidden network. Over 80% of jobs are hidden from the market. They're not on the job boards, they're not on Indeed, they're not on LinkedIn. It's just some hiring manager or recruiter whispering to their network, hey, does anybody know a director of marketing? Would anybody know an accountant, right? And they're doing that right now as we speak. You have no idea, but they're doing that because they don't want to get inundated with thousands of resumes that are unqualified. They want to go to their trusted network. With the more networking you do within your community, whether that's within your profession, like the people who do what you do, or within your industry, or both, hopefully a combination of both. And those people in your trusted network who know people who know people who know people start to refer you those opportunities, then you show up before your resume. Let me say that again. You show up before your resume. So then it's not about, they're not screening your resume. It's you on your reputation that's going ahead of the game. And then someone's going to say, hey, call Barb. Oh, she's great. Or, hey, call Barb. We know that, hey, Mr. Employer, Barb's background is not exactly spot on because she's doing a bit of a shift, but man, she's wonderful. Go interview her, right? Take a risk. She's terrific. So that the relationship is much more important, right, than just about anything else. So we really, really, really steer people away from the job boards. We're not saying you can't apply. It's a free country. Right? You can, but you better manage your expectations. Huge.
Sure.
It is not the way that it used to be. It is a whole other world, and you really need to use your network. So that's my high level sermon. Does that help?
Yeah, and I just want to make sure like I don't have something out there that I don't want to be. I want other people to see if I had to apply for that particular job too.
Yeah, and that's the okay. And I'll just say one more thing, and then Vern and Alki you know me. I want to get y'all to chime in here. If you do, the whole thing about the resume, and this is a whole other speech we can all give, is that your resume needs to be customized.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I don't want to customize it for
Exactly.
one, and then a recruiter from another side
Got it.
see
Right.
it, and
Right.
that's kind of like why I was asking. Like, I want to know
Right.
who has eyes on it.
Right. So first of all, anybody can have eyes on it. As soon as it gets out there in the metaverse, right, anybody can see it. But you do want to make sure that when you formally apply to something, however you get that opportunity, it is customized where you're really reading the job posting, really looking at the qualifications, looking at the way they phrase things, and you use the keywords that they use on the resume. Again, we have whole speeches, we can talk about that. But yeah, I would stay away from the generic side of things and go more customized. So with
Great,
that,
thank you so
Vern
much.
and Alki, feel free.
The only thing I would add is as much as Elke and Cheer and I are going to be like a broken record saying this over and over. Fact of the matter is, in today's world, you'll all run into someplace, sometime, a job that's posted somewhere, and so if you are going to apply for a job on a job board somewhere, just make sure that that job is actually like the perfect job for you. Don't spend hours and hours of the week on the job board, because that's, as Shira just said, that's going to be a big waste of time. The only time you should spend maybe on the job board is if you really feel the job that you see as, wow, this is me in terms of your skills, your experience. It's a company you want to work for. It's the industry you want to be in. All of the things line up. And even then, to Shira's point, you can apply and you may never get an interview. So.
And can I just emphasize one thing that the Vern is talking about? There's an underscore here. We've got to say this. This isn't just about you being interested in them. You need to be qualified for the job as they've laid it out in the posting. There are too many job seekers that have this sort of wish list and aspiration and halo over the top. Oh my gosh, I'm so interested in this role. But the reality is, if you were the recruiter vetting your resume for that job, you go, why is this person applying? Right? Because the employer's risk averse. They can't, they don't really, they don't have a lot of time to train. In fact, no time to train. Right? And so they're more likely to screen out on paper, they're more likely to screen out the career changer, career shifter, whatever. In person, but if you show up before your resume, right? Oops, don't know why that just happened. Sorry, why did this just happen? I don't know what my whiteboard. Sorry, what just happened?
No, it looks like somebody else's whiteboard.
Okay, we're good.
Accident, probably.
Anyway, if you show up before your resume through relationship, they might be a little bit more receptive. But if it's the job board, unless, to Vern's point, yes, you're interested, but you really are qualified, then maybe you consider applying, and even then go ahead and try to find an internal champion. Alki?
Yeah, everything that Vern and Shira said, I'll just add that you're in an audition with everyone else, and so I like to call it typecasting. And I always tell candidates, protect your resume and hold on to it as a precious commodity. When you release it out into the ether, if it's not, as Vern was saying, mega qualified, or Shira was saying it as well, you're now typecasting yourself. So once you put that out there and they're like, she has this, oh, she doesn't have that. And now when they see you without talking to you first, because you didn't show up before your resume, now you've been typecasted. And sometimes that typecast, they keep your resume in their system. And now I'm another recruiter in this system. I'm saying this because I've been in this situation. We scrolled through resumes. We're like, let me see who else has applied 6 months ago for this same job. Oh, I found it. Oh, she doesn't have what we need. And it's like, okay, I see now why she got rejected. And now you're typecast. So I would say protect your resume as much as possible, and be careful about uploading your resume to multiple job sites. I would reverse it. And as Shira was saying, and Vern too, make it, do that as least as possible, really hold on to that thing and make it, maybe 1, 2, or 3 prize opportunities as opposed to applying to 700 opportunities. Hold on to that resume.
But the networking, go cast your networking far and wide. That is the opposite of what we would say, right? So if for the job board, be very select, and even then pack your patience, manage your expectations. For networking, you're a farmer. Plant lots and lots and lots of seeds, because you never know, right, who's going to pick up on it. Besides which, the birds, the wind, and the rain are going to eat 50% of them. So you've got to have a ton of seeds, because some hopefully will sprout, right? But that's where you really need to be spending your time. Okay.
Thank you all. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Jesse, you've been very patient.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate being here. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Anyway, it seems that trends change from generation to generation, and the job market likewise. And there seems to remain a number of tools, resources available, but the perception regarding those tools, resources also fluctuates. So I'm just curious, to what extent should candidates be embrace being adaptive and resilient, and maybe taking initiative and selling themselves?
You'd be a little bit more specific, right? In terms of being adaptive and resilient and selling yourself. Like, do you have a specific question we can address?
Well, I mean, if you sell yourself, if you take initiative, I imagine that you would make more progress, especially if you're persistent in that effort.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's no question. I'll go back to the farmer analogy, right? When you're farming, you have to have a lot of resilience. You have to be very proactive, and you can't assume. For example, you can't just say, "Oh, I'm applying to this one job and I'm going to get a response." No, because you've got all this competition. So your patience, your resilience, your proactivity, you've got, you know what it is. If anybody here has either been in sales or knows people who are in sales, that's actually what you've become. You've become a salesperson. Whether you know it or not, you are now officially in sales. You're doing what we call business development. You are now marketing yourself to an employer to get hired. Salespeople do that all the time. They market themselves to employers or to consumers to say, hey, please buy what I'm selling. Exactly the same process. So you're filling what we call a pipeline. In sales, they use the term pipeline, or a pipe, and it's a funnel, and you're filling it and filling it and filling it. And then when that salesperson fills their funnel with all these different prospects, they never expect that all those prospects are going to turn out. But it goes down and down, eventually down to the bottom of the funnel. Maybe a few of them will turn into actual sales. So yeah, so your resilience is incredibly important in this process for sure, and your patience. Alki, Vern?
Yeah, I've often referred to the job search process as an emotional roller coaster. You have highs, you get an interview, and then you have lows, you don't get the job. And it's really a tough challenge for anybody to manage and go through, because it's not something you do every day, that's for sure. And when you're in that job search, it's just you've got to stay positive, you got to be resilient. This is another place where your network can be supportive. Your network can give you fresh ideas. Your network can, the more networking you do, the greater likelihood somebody in your network will connect you to somebody. So we've been talking about networking. So let me see if I can give you a real life example. I'm not sure whether I can or not, but Noni, have you connected with Jen Hamilton yet?
Yes, we had a call yesterday, which was helpful. Thank you for connecting us. I appreciate it.
Okay. So Noni joined this call a month or so ago,
Yes.
and Shira and I both know Jen Hamilton. She was interested in learning about a particular segment of the consulting business where Jen is an expert. And so it was easy for me to, call Jen, and I knew Jen would automatically accept. She said, sure, I'll talk to her. I'll talk to Noni, and I'm sure she had a great conversation. Now, maybe that conversation doesn't go anywhere. Noni has a conversation, say, okay, this is not right for me. But that's helpful in the job search to know this isn't right for me. And so, I've got to put my efforts to, I've got to search for other people in my network that might give me the information that's closer to the type of thing that I'm looking for.
Absolutely. It's interesting, Vern, you mentioned Jen Hamilton. I'm just going to riff off of that for a moment. And, Vern, and Alki, we always talk about the power of networking on this call. And it's sort of you never know who you're going to meet and all of these things. So I just want to just mention Jen, because Vern also introduced me to Jen back, I think it's been a couple of years now.
Oh.
And he introduced her to me to be a speaker for this other community service group that I run called Boomer Work. Some of you know that I run this for 50 plus professionals to re-career into self-employment. And she ended up being a speaker, not once, but then twice, because she was great. And we ended up becoming very friendly. I mean, so friendly that we decided, hey, what can we do together in business? So now we're actually working, I don't know if you know this, Vern, we're working on a little business model together where I can provide certain kinds of branding services for her clients. Okay.
Nice.
But all that came because Vern made a recommendation just for my community service. Okay. And then it turned into something. And we all actually have millions of examples of these things, right? Where you just don't know who you're going to meet. So whether that's somebody who's in your profession or in your industry, could be your next door neighbor, could be the person you go to gym with, church with, whoever, right? Keep your network alive and let people know. You never know. Vern and I have talked about in the past that on this very call, back, I guess it's been a couple of years now. Was this one? What was her name again? Vern, you know who I'm talking about.
Melissa Ferrari.
Well, no. The other woman from Michigan.
Oh God, Sandy.
Yeah.
Sandy.
Right. So this woman, we have this whole story that Sandy, she was on this call and she shared with us the story that she was from Michigan. She was visiting DC. There's a whole story about she ended up going with her friends to this jazz club, I think it was. All right. And she's sitting there enjoying the music and decides to go up and talk to the band leader at the end. And one thing leads to another. The band leader says, oh, what do you do? And she says something like, I don't know, office management. He goes, oh, do you know QuickBooks? She goes, yes, I do. Well, again, he ended up hiring her for his day job, I think, at a medical office. I mean, how random does that seem? And yet she put herself out there and something happened. So you never know where your next lead is going to come from, but you need to be proactive and you need to share with everybody what you're doing. Networking is absolutely just a huge tool for job search. So yes, we're pretty passionate about that topic, as you can tell. All right. Other questions as people kind of keep coming in. Or Alki,
I was going to sit back and I was making some notes about something else, and I was going to go, sure, and Vern have got this, and I'm not even going to jump in. But I will say, as I was sitting here, I was like, well, we have people who've been on this call all the time, and they're like, all they ever talk about is networking. And then I just took a glance and I was like, well, maybe there's some new people here. And I was going to say, well, another way to, I think what we say a lot is, because a lot of people have asked me, networking, I'm in the job search out there. What are you talking about? I don't want to network. That's for like businesses who want to like get sales leads and things like that. And I think we're just saying on this call, and you guys were talking about it when the call opened up, is that yes, things have changed. There's a million people in the market now, and so it's flooded. And so thinking just, let me hop online and look for a job and click submit of your resume isn't as effective anymore. And so now, instead of thinking as networking like this thing you do at happy hours or, you know, business conferences and things like that, it's really now the job search method, which has always been who you know. But we're saying that on this call that we have every other Friday, our theme song is job search is networking. Not from the business point of view, but yeah, to get a job, your most effective use of your time is who you know. Or you may see a job and then you're like, before I hit submit, let me go to LinkedIn and see who I know that works there, who I'm connected with. I'm one or two people away. And if you can get a conversation, and I sure put it so greatly this morning, show up before your resume. I tell people all the time, sometimes you can just get some intel. You might find out, like, instead of applying and then waiting 6 months and not hear anything back, you may just put in a call and HR may actually answer and go, oh yeah, they just filled that job last month. We just haven't taken the posting down because the person hasn't started yet. So you've now gotten some intel as opposed to just waiting, 6 months to hear from your job submission. So we say networking a lot, but it's really, we're really saying, hey, let's go about your job search another way. Let's consider another way that might be more effective.
Let me give you also, and Amanda, I do see your hand. I'd like to bring you into my world, Vern's world, and Alkie's world for just a minute. And I want to make this this analogy. Hopefully this is going to be a good visual for you all. So a little bit ago, I was mentioning, well, you're kind of in sales, right? Well, let me make this very, very practical. So there are times when myself, Vern, and Alkie hear about a business opportunity, not a job, because none of us are looking for a job, but we are looking for business to work with clients. And all three of us do work with employers. Okay, so that's what we call B2B, business to business. We're the business and we're trying to do business with them, B2B. So in those relationships, there are basically two ways that we might get business. Number one, through an existing relationship. Number two, it could be by submitting a proposal. Okay, so if an employer puts what we call an RFP, a request for proposal, out to a whole bunch of consultants, people like us, if we know that we know that when we submit a proposal, the chances of us landing that business opportunity is very, very small, right? Because they're going to send it out to 10, 25, who knows how many consultants. And so I have to think 3 times, 5 times, do I actually want to take the time to submit a proposal, knowing that all they're going to see, they're not going to know me. All they're going to see is my little background and however I fill out the proposal. And they've got to vet me. Oftentimes they're vetting on price. I hope this is resonating with all of you, okay? And maybe you've even been in this situation. They're looking at price, they're looking at my background, and there are many times that in my own world, there's a particular part of my business I'm thinking about right now, where I know my competitors, and they're great competitors, right? But they have more experience in certain aspects of this kind of work than I do, or they're bigger than me, or they're more prestigious or whatever. And I'm just a little boutique firm. I don't get those. I mean, I did once in a while, I've gotten the gig, but mostly I don't. Why? Because the employer is just vetting me on that piece of paper. By contrast, when I have a relationship with somebody, they don't even need to put out an RFP. They usually don't need to go to anybody else. They're like, sure, I already know you, I trust you, or you were referred to me by a client. There's at least one person on this call who actually has worked with me in a business capacity, who didn't need me to to prove myself, but was referred to me, right? And that's my point, is that when you have a relationship with somebody, it's just like in a B2B relationship, the likelihood of them actually giving you a substantive chance to get the job, to get that interview, right, goes way up. But when you are submitting to an RFP, right, the online job board, your chances go way, way down because now you're competing with everybody else. Does that make sense? Is that a visual? Does everybody get that? It's the same process. That's why we say the relationship. When we say networking, think relationship building. That's all that networking is. Build a relationship with them so that they trust you, or build a relationship with somebody who can refer you to somebody who trusts you. That's how I get most of my business. People say, hey, Cher, I was referred to you by my friend so-and-so, okay? And that is a trusted referral. It happens to you all the time. If you have a leaky faucet, if you need to go find a new dentist, a hairdresser, or whatever, what do? You call your friends, or you go on Yelp and you look for reviews, and you want someone to send you a trusted referral. Does this make sense? That's why we keep emphasizing this. Alki?
I also, you just killed it with that. But when I've worked as an internal recruiter, this is still true for us as independent recruiters as well. But I always tell people, from back in the days, the old days, it was who you know. It's still who you know. Some people are like, that doesn't apply when I apply for the job and I submit my resume. Well, yes, it does, because I've been a corporate recruiter. So I've been on the inside and I've been on the other side of, open my computer saying, wow, 300 people have applied to this job since I posted it yesterday. So when I see 1 or 2 or 4 resumes that I like, I then, I've screened you by resume to say, okay, these 4 I'm swiping right on. I'm going to schedule screens with them. When I do I already probably like you out of the group just from your resume, but once I screen you, it confirms it. And then instantly I become who you know. I become the recommendation to the hiring manager to go, hey, I can vouch for this person. This is somebody who you were looking for. Now you should talk to them and you need to vet them yourself. But I'm giving my stamp of approval as somebody that I would recommend that you at least talk to. So now, even going through that process, you have just become, or I have just become, someone that knows the person that you're trying to meet, and I'm now your who you know connection. And that's what happens when you hit submit on your resume. In order to ever get an interview, if you're a complete stranger and you don't have a network referral like we talk about all the time, and they do pick you for an interview, that means a recruiter, hiring manager, HR rep, whoever receives those resumes has liked you and become your internal champion who's now vouching for you. And that's how the process goes throughout, as you all have been managers and you all have been hired before. This process works this way. Somebody vouches for you to the next person, they send you to the panel or to the next group, and then at the end of the day, everybody sends it to the VP for final approval and sign off, and that VP is hearing from everybody. Yep, I like them. But that's how the process works. It's still who you know, no matter if you're internal or come with a referral. This is all about who you know and trust.
That's true. Well put. Well put. Thank you, Alki. Amanda.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that, and it was really cool when I got on the call that we were talking about networking, because I was just on a networking call like right before I got on for this. It was one of Shira's connections. We had a really great conversation, and she's like, yeah, I'm gonna introduce you to a couple more people that I think you should meet. And I'm like, that is perfect. That is what I want. Not only did she give me great advice, but we just had a really lovely conversation. And she then referred me to other people who might be able to help me, and then people they might know might be able to help me, and so on and so forth. So like, it works.
It does work.
Yeah.
And by the way, Amanda, if it's the person I'm thinking of that you and I were going back and forth about yesterday, she's actually was on this call. I happen to know her from my past, but she was on this call many, 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 many times.
Oh, okay.
That's why she was very top of mind for me, that I was able to refer her because she was here. So there you go. See how it all comes full circle? Network.
Yeah, networking.
Let me add a couple key points about networking, because that's basically what we do at Contacts Count from A to Z. I want to emphasize what Alki just said, but be careful about, there's this phrase, it's about who you know, not what you know. That's kind of a phrase that's been around forever. And when it comes to who you know a lot of people. The question you need to think about is, how well do they know you? Mm-hmm. So in Alki's example, he's screened the resume, he's talked to the person, he now knows the person pretty well, so his recommendation is going to hold a lot of weight. If you know somebody but you don't know them really well, and they say, oh, I know so and so at ABC company and you're applying and, I'll send you a resume. Well, if they can't really make the recommendation that Shira and Elke and I have been talking about, well, let me tell you about Amanda. Let me tell you what she does, and let me tell you her skills. Let me tell you a little bit about her accomplishments, her personality. If they don't know you that well, then that's kind of a weak recommendation. So that how people get to know you really well is through continuous, conversations. That's how you build the relationships. When we say a trust-based relationship, that's a relationship where you each know, like, trust one another, and you're ready to help the other person whenever, wherever you can.
So Vern, I'm going to tee up a little training moment for you.
Okay.
So Vern, as you can see by his logo behind him, he runs a company called Contacts Count, and he is a master networker. And this is what he does: is trains people on how to network and make, and he calls it the power of human connection. So back, I don't know how many months ago, Vern and I co-led a presentation on networking. He had his slides and I had my slides. And one of his slides talks about, is it the 6 A's? The 6 of them, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to tee it, if you don't mind, Vern. I'm going to put you on the spot, but I know you are very fluent in this. I'm going to share my slide on my screen, and I'm going to pull up that one slide. And Vern, if you wouldn't mind doing a little training on it, that'd be okay, because it's exactly what you're talking about right now. It has to do with the quality of the relationships that you have.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah. So this is a slide that describes, from a Contacts Counts point of view, the type of conversation you can have any place, anywhere, anytime with anyone. Okay. We all sometimes have accidents. We run into people, we sit next to people on an airplane and we have this great conversation, but then we go our separate ways. We might be standing in line for a ticket or standing in line and somewhere, and we talk to someone and it's a casual conversation and it goes away. The only time that those accidents actually come into something is if one of you makes the effort to get a phone number, an email, something like that. Acquaintances are people that are a friend of a friend. So we could be introduced to those people at any point in time. If you knew your brother had a friend that was an expert in the type of area that your job search is in, your brother could introduce you to that person. Associates are people that you have something in common with. And this is a large number of people. This is thousands of people in your life. Because if you think about it, all an associate is someone, for instance, if you're working for a company, it's all the employees in the company. Now, if the company is 1,000 employees, you might know 50 or 60 really well, but you don't know 1,000. But the point is, that's an opportunity. You could get to know any one of those other associates in your business if you simply make a choice, make a conscious choice to reach out and to begin to have a conversation with them. Actives are the actual networking conversations you have with anyone at any time. And the more of the conversations that you have over time with another person, you can reach the stage of what we call an advocate. So an advocate is what Shira and I and Kelk have been talking about. Someone who knows you well, who trusts you and likes you, and vice versa. But becoming someone's advocate takes time and effort. And so if you're, one of the real challenges for somebody in the job search is if they don't have a strong network and now they're going into the job search, they've got to work that much harder to build the relationships as quickly as they can, so that you'd have, I mean, the more advocates you have, the greater likelihood they know you well, they trust you, they like you, they're looking out for you. They will, if they see an opportunity, they'll be calling you to tell you, hey, I saw this opportunity, or someone just told me about a job. This is the hidden job market that Shira has been talking about. The last 3 jobs in my career came from advocates in my network who told me about a job that I didn't even know existed, because as Shira said, it wasn't posted anywhere on the internet. So when you develop those types of relationships, those are the people who can be the most helpful to you in terms of a job search. And the allies are we refer to your allies as your personal board of directors. Those are 6 or 8 or 10 people who know you really, really well. These are people that you might share confidential information with. These might be, a family member. It might be a former boss. It could be a college roommate. People that are basically going through your life with you at pretty much every stage. The most difficulty people have that we've found in our research in terms of networking is they simply they approach networking and they're not sure what to do. And one of the ways that we help people think about networking differently is think about every one of these possible conversations that you could have is an opportunity for you to teach the other person something about you and for you to learn something about the other person. So if you approach every conversation as this is an opportunity for me to teach the person something about who I am, what I'm good at, what I like, what are my accomplishments, whatever the situation is, whatever's appropriate at that time, and to be mindful that you need to ask the other person questions about who they are and what they're all about. And again, you can't get to know somebody in the first conversation, but if you approach every conversation like that, that will lead to what we call developing an advocate over time. So think about teaching and giving, and the more you teach and the more you give, the stronger the relationship's going to become over time. So
Thank you, Vern. This is great.
yeah.
I actually have a couple of comments I want to make on this. First of all, feel free to take a picture of the slide, everybody. You're welcome to it. Actually, before I jump in, Alki, is there anything you wanted to share? Okay, so there's two things that I want to mention about this that are sort of underscored. Actually, one of them is the dormant. So if you notice that on the right side, I do want to address that. But first, I want to talk about mindset. A lot of folks, and maybe you feel this way if you're on this call, a lot of folks feel a little bit shy about reaching out to a network. Whether you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert, some people feel a little bit nervous, a little bit shy, a little bit almost like I'm imposing on my network, right, to reach out. If you feel that way, you'd be very normal. But I'd like to offer you a way to reframe that in your mind. And it has to do with what Vern was just talking about teaching and giving. Some of you may have heard me share this before. You want to be a teacher and a giver. You want to be what's called a go-giver. Understand that when you are reaching out to your network, you think you're doing it for yourself. You think you're doing it because you need to put food on the table. And sure, that might be the motivator. But at the end of the day, when you are networking with someone, you're actually offering yourself as a blessing to them. Here's what I mean by that. When you are offering yourself and you're saying, hey, look, this is what I do for a living. In Amanda's case, right? Amanda's a communications professional, right? Amanda's saying to the world, look, I have communication skills. I want to offer them to whoever can benefit from those skills. Notice what I just said, whoever can benefit from those skills. There are employers right now who I believe are looking for Amanda's skills. Amanda is presenting herself as a blessing to them. Yes, hopefully she will get a paycheck and she will put food on the table, right? But from the employer's perspective, they are looking for her. If she does not put herself out there and have those networking conversations like she just did this morning, no one would ever be able to receive that blessing. You are offering yourself as something good in the world. You have gifts and talents that people need. And I'm going to make this personal. I've shared this story before. I hope I never forget it. And this is on the business side, but imagine it's the same thing, whether I'm a business person looking to do business or if I'm a job seeker, it's the same thing. We're still offering our skills to people to hire us in one way or the other. So a few years ago, I was talking to an existing client, a guy named David. He was the chief operating officer of a small business. And I have lots of things that I do, a lot of lanes to my highway. And one of my lanes is something called outplacement, where I'll do career coaching for people for employers who have to downsize their employees. Okay, they'll pay for my services to coach their people. Fine. He didn't know that I did anything else in the world. He just didn't. He came to me. That was the lane he knew, and that's the way that he worked with me. And one day we were having a conversation and just chatting. And he was sharing with me some business problem he had about his staff or what. I said, oh, well, I said, David, because I'm a recruiter and a coach. He goes, well, you're a what? What? And he almost jokingly yelled at me because I had not told him the other things that I did. And he goes, Shira, had I known that you did blah, 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 I wouldn't have had to go anywhere else. I could have just come to you. He felt denied. He felt like I was holding back on him. And here I was not trying to oversell myself. And he's like, no, 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 I need you. I need you for my business challenges. And sure enough, he had me do some executive coaching with one of his people that I would never have known about, but he didn't know that I actually did that kind of work. Okay. So I was denying him the blessing of working with me because he had a problem that I could have been helping him solve, but it wasn't about me. Understand what I'm telling you here. This has nothing to do with me. It's about him. He had the need, and had I not told him what I did for a living, he wouldn't have been able to have his problem solved. Does that make sense? When you call the plumber, or you the hairdresser, or the dentist, or whoever you're looking for, it's not about them. It's about you in that moment. You have the business need. You have the need for them, and you want someone to give you a trusted referral. So please, 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 just know when you're going out there, if you have any nervousness around this, don't make it about you. Say, how can I offer my gifts and talents to the world to help somebody? The more people I tell, the more people that could benefit from the gifts that I've been given. Okay, so that's the first thing I want to say. The second thing is this dormant thing. So dormant relationships are basically relationships of people you've known in the past that you haven't kept up with, okay? For whatever reason, whatever category they fall into, they're an acquaintance, they're an ally, they're whatever. Here's the interesting thing about that. A lot of job seekers think, oh, I haven't talked to the person in a year. I haven't talked to the person in 5 years. I haven't talked to the person in 25 years. Oh, it's been too long. Either they've forgotten about me. I haven't kept up with them. Oh, I should reach out. It's the opposite. This is what we call a blast from the past connection. When you reach out to that person you haven't talked to in 1 year, 5 year, 10 years, 25 years, as long as the last connection you had with them was positive and they remember you warmly, they're going to go, oh, Amanda, Alki, Barb, what you been up to? Blast from the past. So great to hear from you. So great to hear. I cannot tell you how many calls like that I've had in my life. Literally, I haven't talked to you in 25 years. What have you been up to your whole life? Okay. And then we resurrect the relationship and we pick it up where as if no time has passed. People are typically thrilled to hear from you, even if it's been a long time. So don't worry about the fact that you haven't talked to them. They would be usually very delighted to hear from you. Vern, did you want to add anything since that's part of your world here?
Yeah, and again, it's the strength of the relationship. If you had a positive relationship with somebody, in the past, that again, you knew who they were as a person, you understood their character, you understood what they were interested in, you understood their skills and abilities, and they knew all of that about you, your character, your interest, your abilities, your communication style, your team playing. The more that they knew about you, the greater likelihood that the call, as Shira said, people are afraid to make the call. And we just keep saying, just pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
I just saw your name, or I came across your name, and I just wanted to reach out and find out how you're doing.
Right.
And 99.9% of the time,
They're
you're
going
going
to be
to have a
delighted.
fantastic conversation.
Yeah.
Uh,
Send them a
Shira,
text, an email, Facebook, LinkedIn, right? Just send them a message.
Yeah. Shira and I were reintroduced.
Mhm.
Shira and I had a dormant relationship for probably about 20 years.
Mhm.
And somebody on this call called me, who was a client of mine, and said, Vern, I've been on this call with Shira, and she could use another coach to be on the call. And somebody just left her, who was the coach, left. And she said, Shira? And I said, well, I knew her 20 years ago, but I knew that if I reached out, that it would end up like this. And so I've been on the call for a couple of years now.
That's right. And ironically, the very way that Vern and I met right now, that meeting, HRLF, is actually happening. Eliyahu's over there right now. But anyway, yes, that's exactly right. Vern reached out and it was no time. Vern, how are you? Oh my gosh, what's been up in your life? And we picked up as if no time had passed. Right. And here he is being able to be a blessing to everybody.
And the other thing about the dormant relationships is recognize those people have now, whether it's 5 years or whatever the time lag is, they have new information, they've had new experiences, they have new people in their network, and the likelihood that they have somebody in their network or they themselves could help you, there's a pretty good chance that they might be able to do that some way, somehow.
That's right. So actually, I want to open this up for just a minute. I'd like to hear about positive networking experiences that you all have had. Who has had one, either in your job search or not, just even some other place in your life where maybe it's been a dormant relationship that's been resurrected, or just a new person you met, doesn't have to be dormant, just somebody you met who made a good connection for you, or you made a good connection for them, and you saw fruit out of that relationship. It may not have anything to do with your job search, but if it does, that would be great. Anybody have a story?
I think for me, I actually go up to strangers. Hey, how are you? My name is, Savonia. Would you like to do lunch or breakfast or something sometime? And, I've gotten a lot of no's. But I've gotten a lot of yeses. We go ahead and break bread, we eat and just chat and, talk about where they work, where I work, and just building from there. So mine is more so on the friendship level, but definitely, if somebody wants to use that idea, they can turn it into like a job thing. Hey, are you hiring? Do you know of anybody? Are you a manager?
Yeah.
Who's the HR? So go at it like that.
You never know. Yeah, whether you stand in line in the Starbucks or you're going to a networking meeting or whatever, as long as there's some sort of reason why you can start up a conversation, and people, you never know. I mean, have you ever had it happen where you're walking by someone, you're in the elevator, and you notice something, I don't know, maybe, you like what the person's wearing, or you like they have cool glasses, I don't know. And you just sort of naturally struck, wow, cool glasses. And then all of a sudden you have this conversation and one thing leads to another, and that little connection point turns into a larger conversation, and all of a sudden you find there's a little bit of a connection there, and that connection can then turn into, hey, do you want to ever grab a cup of coffee, right? You just don't know. Just got to be open though, right, to share. Karen.
I have reached out in the past and it's always been positive. Even if it's been 10, 15, 20 years, people are always positive.
Right. Yeah, they're glad to hear from you. They're like, where have you
Mhm.
been? Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Anyone else? An interesting networking story, maybe a specific time, once upon a time that you ran into somebody and you were surprised at how good of a connection it was.
The other thing I wanted to mention is meetup.com. I have heard so many stories about people meeting their wives on Meetup, husbands, meeting their best friends. Somebody just was like, hey, yeah, I need a job. That person took their name and sent it straight up the hiring chain and they've gotten hired. So, get out there, explore, meet somebody new, take a chance.
This group is on Meetup. And in fact, there's more than one person. I think that even today, I think Gradys, you had mentioned you found us on Meetup. So to your point, Sonia, we're just one of the millions of groups out there that you could be connecting with. And it doesn't have to be a job search group. It could be, maybe you're a hiker, maybe you're a biker, maybe you like cats. I don't know. There's Meetup groups for everything. So just kind of get out there and see. Look, many years ago, one of my aerobics teachers became my client. Who knew? You just don't know who you're going to meet, right?
It's funny when you mentioned the aerobics teacher, the first word that popped into my mind was why? Trust.
Yeah.
Trust. Vern, and we talk on this call a lot about teaching and giving. Vern just talked about it. And I was going to say from the last segment, to tie this back into networking, recruiters, especially now, they go to work. Again, I talk about opening their computers and then they're like, all right, let me get my coffee. Before I hit this button, let me get everything ready and take a deep breath, because 1,000 resumes are going to be coming at me, hit me in the face, hire me, hire me, hire me, hire me, when they're looking for somebody who's coming with a fresh and a different, thing that they're bringing to the table. So in some of these other groups, instead of going at your job search, the same way and hitting the pavement, that's good. Hit the pavement hard, or the virtual pavement hard. But it's in some of these groups where the trust is there because you're not there selling something right away or selling yourself. This is a whole different safe space where they might even ask you, hey, what do you do? Or where do you work? Oh, glad you asked. But it's in some of these other groups, some of these safe spaces, that these things happen. And to that point, I've been in, as a recruiter, also as a candidate, I learned this whenever I've applied for proposals or opportunities or jobs myself in the past. As a recruiter, I've learned, hey, they don't want me in there. They want to ask me, what do I have to offer, but they don't want me in there selling. At some point, as a candidate, as Vern says all the time, and Shira talks about on the call too. Hey, what are you offering us? Like what do you have to give? Are you interested in our needs at all? We have this position open because we have a need. We have a lot of things we're trying to do. And so some candidates have actually come in and said, hey, tell me about you guys. Like, why is this position open? And what's your pain point? How long, how long before you give up and try something else? Or, what problems do you guys have that you've been struggling with? And thus, that's the type of person that you're looking for. You're now offering things that are more refreshing, which is also from that same trusted, safe space that we're talking about. Get out in some other groups, bump into some other people with a safe and harmless introduction and association and affiliation, and out of that, then they're like, you know what? I've met them twice at pickleball. We had great conversations in the parking lot. I'm going to introduce him to my nephew, or I'm going to introduce him to my friend. He's hiring. That's where those things come out of.
That's right. And then on the other side of the coin, so here we're talking about the innocent, friendly, neighborly kind of conversations. The other side is also very true. And that is being very, very intentional to go find people in your profession and in your industry. There are associations, and some of you on this call know about the association community, right? These are membership organizations that have either member companies or professionals, like the American Medical Association, American Bar Association, the American Society of Widget Makers, right? There's a million of them. And a lot of them have local chapters. And that's what I call your fish pond. These are where your goldfish are swimming. These are the people who do what you do. That is actually where some of the very, 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 very best networking can come from, because those are the people who typically will hear about the opportunities that are in your space. So the person that Amanda was just talking about is a woman who is she's very seasoned communications professional. And that's why I hooked them up. Because I thought that, hey, communications professional, they can have a synergistic conversation, and hopefully this woman will be able to provide some leads for Amanda. But that was very intentional. I wasn't just introducing Amanda to anybody. It was somebody who was in her profession. So make sure that you intentionally do that. In addition to the random strangers, go be proactive around the people who actually get what you do. Noni?
Yeah, I was just going to give an example of that. Yesterday, I'm in finance, financial planning and analysis, and I attended a virtual roundtable for financial types. And, it was across the US, but it was interesting that we had some breakouts, and I ended up talking to 3 different people who have contacts in Houston, which is where I'm currently located. And so that was helpful. And I expect to be able to talk to some more people locally, because for those of you who don't know, I just recently relocated here to Houston. So networking is even more important, from a local standpoint. But anyway, it was just a good experience, and glad that I attended.
And try to get out there. I know we're in our little post-COVID world, and we're all most of us are kind of still huddled in our home, because this is the new normal that we've come. Get out of the house. Go meet people, and seriously, meet people in person. There's nothing like the power of face-to-face. I'm glad we have this online forum for people like Noni, right? Because you're in Houston and you wouldn't have been able to meet us in person. That's great. And make sure to get out there and go to some local chapter meetings, local meetup groups, whatever, and shake a hand. Yeah.
And Noni, if you have conversations with those people in Houston and one of them turns into be a great conversation or a job lead, share it with the group. It's just proof of everything that we're talking about.
Yeah, will do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do what the recruiters are saying to do, and get on LinkedIn, go through your contacts and see who's there. Well, one time, what happened to me, I was jobless, and I went back through my LinkedIn emails, of people that wanted to reach out to me in the past. And I think the recruiter had moved. I think she said she was in California. Reached out to her. She basically got me an interview. And so, I didn't get the job, but that's something you can also do. Like they were saying, okay, she was trying to recruit me 10 years ago. Reach back out to him. Hey, what's going on? What's up there? Reached out to my boyfriend, ex-boyfriend. I'm married now, on LinkedIn. And he was just always so professional. He had his job like way before me. Anyways, he got me an interview in which, he has connections and he's loved on his job. The other thing I did was, and keep an open mind. I walked around in a professional park where other businesses were, and I just knocked on doors. Hey, are you hiring? Hey, are you hiring? The guy said, yeah, and I ended up working there, and then I found out about a job fair from doing that just randomly. So think outside of the box and just go for it.
Thank you for your enthusiasm, Sylvania.
Yes.
This is great. Hopefully you're inspiring people to go like step out of their comfort zone and go talk to strangers.
Yeah, it's
You
hard,
never
but
know.
yeah.
You never know. That's great. Well, here's what I like to do for our last remaining time. Since our entire conversation today has been about networking, let's go do it. Okay. I'm going to have us we've done this once in a while. We're going to go around the room and we're going to start introducing ourselves, but I'm going to give you a little formula that I'd like you to use. And I'm going to have you take 30 seconds and just jot this down. Okay. So you're prepared when the square comes to you. Okay. And here's what you're going to say. Obviously state your name. I know we can all see it, but for some of us, our full names are not there. So your name. I want you to state the following two things. Okay. So one of them is what I call your lane. Your lane is your profession. Now, be clear about this. I want you to say the profession you are seeking. Now, that could be the profession you've had in the past. It could be the one you're going for. We're not looking for your backstory. We're not looking for you to say, hey, I'm switching from real estate to financial services. We're not going there. We don't have the time for the whole story. We just want the aspiration. I'm looking for a financial analysis role, a project manager role, a communications assistant role, whatever the thing is. Okay, the title, if you will, the general title of the job that you're looking for, that's your lane. Next, what I call your community. So your community is the industry, mission, or sector that you serve. So if your lane, I'm making this up, your lane is marketing, your community is the nonprofit community, or the commercial real estate community, or the legal community, or higher education, or government contracting. You see where I'm going with this? Now, you may not have a community. That's okay. A lot of people don't. You may just have a lane, and that's fine. So simply say, here's my lane. Here's the job I'm looking for. If you have a community, please add it as well, because that can be helpful when people are thinking about referring you a job lead. The next thing I want you to share is a superpower. Okay. I want you to list one superpower. Your superpower, I know Amanda, I keep calling on you. I know Amanda's like ridiculously organized. This woman can project coordinate like the cows come home. This is a major superpower for her. Okay. So I've already just bragged on you. Whatever your superpower, like just one thing that people really know you to be this way. Okay. It's just so we can get to know you a little bit better. And then the last thing I would like you to share with us is to maybe 2 or 3 either types of companies or organizations you're looking for, or even by name. You can say, hey, I'm looking for, does anybody have any connections at Marriott, at Northwest Mutual, at, I don't know, whatever the company is. If you have 2 or 3 company names that you're specifically targeting, or organizations, or just sectors, I'm looking for something in hospitality or whatever. Okay. So your name, your lane, your community, if you have one major superpower, and then 2 or 3 types of companies or names of companies that you'd like for us to think about. Okay. Now we have whatever it is, like 10-ish people we're going to go through here. So we got to do this pretty quickly. That's why I wanted you to write this down so that when it gets to you, okay, you can kind of read from your piece of paper and we'll go quick. Again, no backstory. We don't have time for that. Just boom, 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 boom. Now, the very, very last thing is this. I'd like you to be prepared in the chat. If you're comfortable with this, you don't have to. If you're comfortable, please put in the chat your name, your email address, your phone number if you want. Again, this is all optional, okay? Just so people can reach you. Name, email, phone number, and your LinkedIn URL if you want people to connect with you, or any version of that. Again, 100% optional, any of these things, okay? Just if you want people to reach out. Okay, so name, phone, email, LinkedIn URL. Okay, so I'm going to prepare you for who I'm going to call on. So it's going to be Noni, then Jesse, Wesson, Amanda, Mark, Sylvania, Barb, Karen, Gradis, Roz, and Buki. Okay, but I will prepare you again when you're like one person out. Okay, so Noni, you're first.
My name is Noni Carmen, and I am looking for a position as a financial planning and analysis manager, a business partner to a function, a business unit, a division, something like that. I don't really have a community. So it's going to be whatever industry. And then my superpower is I'm a very effective listener. And lastly, in terms of companies, and I'm struggling with that a little bit, what I'm closest to is the NASA Johnson Space Center in Houston. And after that, I'm still looking at what companies I'll target.
Now, as you're thinking, as everybody's sharing those last couple of things, like with the companies, be thinking, do I know anyone? Or do I know anyone who might know somebody? And if so, please reach out to the individual if they put their information in the chat. Okay. All right. Jesse, you're next.
So thank you for having me. Yeah, my name is Jesse. I presently offer leadership cultivating experiences, and my background is somewhat cyber tech specific. Um, in the context of superpowers, potentially adaptive thinking, and I'm exploring the job market, and it's what its present offerings might be. Thank you so much for having me.
You're
And
welcome, Jesse. Are there any particular companies that you're looking to target?
any companies?
Specific
Well,
names? That's okay if you don't. Just asking.
I mean, uh, I'm open-minded.
You're
I'm
open-minded.
open-minded,
Okay.
so
Sure.
it's going to be specific to what's available in the opportunity window.
Okay. Sounds good, Jesse. Thank you. Wesson and then Amanda. You're on mute.
My name is Wesson Olson. I'm a recruiter and an HR generalist. The community that's my lane, and the community that I was serving is the DoD community. I've been in the general contracting arena for quite some time. I'm one of the things that are powerful, I feel like they're superpower to me, is that I like to connect with people. I'm very passionate about trying to put two people together in regards to jobs. The industries that I'm trying to target right now is either the federal or the NGOs. I want to step away from the contracting arena. That's pretty much me.
So Wesson, I'm about to private chat you a link, an email address to an HR group that I run. I run a listserv of it's called the DCHR Brown Bag. It's for HR professionals here in the DMV. I'm presuming you're in the DMV because you mentioned government contracting. And
I am.
yeah.
I am.
So we have over 300 people on this list. It's a daily listserv of people, HR people just asking each other questions about whatever. And occasionally people do networking for jobs and they'll share, hey, there's an HR generalist opening or something like that. So feel free to just send an email to the email address I just sent you. I'm actually the administrator, so I'll see it and then I will approve you. Okay. And you're welcome to be on the list.
Will do. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
You're welcome. Amanda and then Mark.
Hi, my name is Amanda Libby. I'm looking for communication coordinator roles. That's my lane. My industry is the nonprofit industry. One of my biggest superpowers, as Shira has mentioned, is I'm really good at project organization and coordination. In terms of companies or just places to look at, I'm really looking at universities and nonprofits that focus on either animals / pet care or women's issues.
Great. Thank you, Amanda. All right, Mark and then Sylvania.
Good morning. I'm Mark Pretzat. I am an attorney who's also a regulatory specialist in financial services, particularly banking. I'm seeking position in banking or financial services more broadly, as legal counsel, as regulatory counsel, or as bank director, perhaps to a small institution. In terms of superpower, one person said that it was my eyes that were my superpower. I'm not so sure about that, but I too am an attentive and active listener. in terms of whom I'm targeting, I would say any bank or financial services company. I think that's about as depth as I can be on that. So thank you for listening.
Absolutely. No, I'm guessing, Nonia, Mark, you may want to connect. There might be some synergies there, just
Okay.
suggesting. Sylvania and then Barb.
Hello, I am Savonia. I'm here to inspire in this group, and I currently work in healthcare as a federal employee. I'm an excellent communicator, and I'm a great analyst. So yeah, my group would be the federal government. And reach out to me. I put my email in the chat.
Thank you, Sylvania, for being here. Barb and then Karen.
Hi, I'm Barb Miller, and I'm looking for a sales operations analyst kind of role, working with Salesforce.com or even a help desk role. My community, I would say, is large and global companies with the sales team. My superpower is listening to hear what's not being said. If you have any connections at large global companies, maybe like a SaaS company would be really interesting. Please let me know. And I'm in Southeast Pennsylvania.
Barb, so one of my clients is a management consulting firm, and they have a practice area of Salesforce implementation.
Oh,
So I'm gonna put my email in the chat for everybody, just in case anybody needs to reach me. But please reach out to me.
yeah, thank you.
Send me your resume. I'm happy to forward it along because I know they're in regular hiring mode. So
Awesome.
there could be a connection there, and they do hire remotely. So
Great. Thank you so much.
That's an example of teaching someone about what you're good at and making a connection.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity to even be in this forum.
Sure. Karen and then Gladys. Karen, you're on mute.
I know I'm on my iPad and I was trying to figure out how to unmute myself. Sorry about that. So I am looking for either project management, business analyst, or trainer role. My strong points are communication, problem solving, and collaboration. And I forgot what else I was supposed to say.
Any particular names of companies you're looking at?
No, I've been looking at government contractors lately, small ones, close to home. So that's it.
Got it. So it looks like you already have some connections. Now, I know, Gladys, you're about to give your introduction, but you had mentioned earlier that you're in project management, so maybe the two of you can connect. Sylvania and Karen, maybe you two can connect. Sounds like but I hope you're modeling after what I'm doing right here. I'm doing what, remember when you were 5 years old and you played the game of concentration and you turned over the strawberry card, and then 2 rows later there was another strawberry and you put them together. That's what I'm doing right now. So be thinking about that for each other. If you can have connections that you feel like could be made, that's a good thing to do. Gladys and then Roshan, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Hi, my name is Gladys Blaze. I have a background in technical program management, which I'm looking to continue on to. My superpower, my favorite superpower, is using data to solve problems, especially problems of implementation of large-scale solutions using cross-functional teams. And I am looking at Amazon primarily, and perhaps other similar companies as well. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for sharing that, Gladys. Since you mentioned Amazon, I know they've become a bigger, fairly decent sized employer around here, and there are plenty of people who are interested in them. So I'm not sure if you know this, Gladys, or anybody knows this. Amazon is a very interesting place to work. It's a very challenging place to work because they are very, very demanding in their expectations of people. They're always looking for people who are very bold and aggressive and looking to sort of challenge the status quo, which works for some people, doesn't work for some people as well. They have something called the 14 leadership principles. Gladys, if you're ever interested in learning about that, you can just type in 14 leadership principles for Amazon and they'll come up, and they interview very strongly on those. So if you feel like you're a good fit for that, you'll want to vet yourself based upon those principles to see if the culture is going to be right for you. Okay, so it's a very, very unique culture that a lot of people aren't aware of. So it's pretty aggressive. Okay. Roshan and then Buki.
Hello, good morning. This is Roshan Lewis. My background. Wait a minute. So the name I got the name. Background is in product development, product management areas. My superpower is I'm a strategist, so I look at problems and figure out the best and the most efficient way to come up with a solution. What's the next one?
So your lane, your community, your superpower, and then the maybe a couple, 3 companies that you are interested in.
Right. I think I missed up some of the order. Um, so the lane is, so I'm in financial services, but not on the front end side, not in the banking, but more on the back end side with regards to building products and solutions on the financial services side. Some of the companies that I'm interested in are JP Morgan, Chase, Citi, Wells Fargo, Capital One. Again, not on the front end side, but more on the back end and product development for these companies. I'm also looking at the insurance sector. So it's broadly speaking, financial services overall, but with the focus on product development on the back end.
So, Roshan, I'm about to start a new coaching relationship with somebody who comes from exactly those kinds of companies. Her entire career has been with those big names. Her first name is Beth. So if you can send me an email, I put my email in the chat, just say, hey, connection to Beth. And then if you send me your resume, I can, when I meet with her next week, I can just, pass your name along to see if she can be of support to you.
Thank you very much. I found this group just this morning on Meetup. So thank you for putting yourself out there on Meetup. Thank you.
You're welcome. Glad you could join us. And then Buki.
Good morning, everybody. Hi, Shira.
Hi, Buki.
My name is Buki Shedunke. I am looking, for roles within L&D management, training, project management, change management, something along those lines. It can be in healthcare or city, state jobs, county jobs, things like that. And I will say that I'm great at organizing, communicating, and also being able to plan programs and events efficiently. And I think that's it.
Okay, so the places you're looking for, you said you kind of give us a range. Any specific names of companies, organizations?
I've applied recently to City of Baltimore, Heal First, LifeBridge, or even academia settings.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think we've gone around the room. So we'll go ahead and formally close up the call. For those of you who are interested after the call, I do offer a short prayer call for those of you who are interested in that as a place of encouragement. Otherwise, we meet every other Friday, so 2 weeks from now, and we'll look forward to seeing you all back here. All right, have a blessed day.